Hi, my name is Melissa Hall from soycandlemakingtime.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make soy chunk candles. So first of all, we're going to go through our supply list, what we need for the chunk candles. We're going to need a pour pot. This is a 1.5 pound pour pot, and we're going to need a rubber spatula to mix with. You're going to need a candy thermometer. We're going to need a pot with some water in it, so we can put the pour pot in there, put the wax in it, and melt the wax. And for the chunks, to make the chunks, we're going to need a 8x8 pan with some wax paper in it, lined with wax paper. And it needs to be lined with wax paper, or else the wax is going to adhere to the glass, and then you won't be able to get the chunks out. So we're going to need some wick stickers for the wicks, to stick the wicks to the bottoms of the jars. And then we're going to need our wicks. And these wicks are CD18 wicks. Those are the ones that I've found that work the best with my 8-ounce and 16-ounce mason jars. And then we're going to make 2 candles today, so we're going to need 2 8-ounce jars, and these are the square mason jars. And we're going to need some candle dye. We're going to need black and blue. And then I always like to put some wax paper down in my work area so that it's just easier to clean up. You can just throw the wax paper away when you're done. And then we're going to need some soy, the most important part, some soy candle wax. This is 100% soy wax by Enchanted Lights. And I buy this at candlesoylutions.com. That's where I buy most of my supplies. They're a good company and they're really close to me, so it makes it nice on the shipping. We're going to need some blueberry fragrance oil for the chunks. And this is Crafter's Choice fragrance oil. And we're going to need some white cake fragrance oil, which I've got at candlesoylutions.com. And that's about it, so let's get started. Okay, so first of all, we're going to turn on our scale, and I like to use a digital scale because that way we can get a more accurate reading, but you can use any kitchen scale that you want. So we'll turn on our scale, set the pour pot on there, and zero it out. And then I'm going to put some soy wax in. So we'll just scoop them in, and we are making the chunks first, so I'm just going to use 1 pound of wax. So just dump it in until it reaches 16 ounces. Okay, so go. It's about 16 ounces. So now I'm going to turn my front burner on to about 4. So about medium low is a good. And we're going to set the pour pot in here in the water. And you always need to have water in your pan, because otherwise the wax can get too hot and end up combusting, and we don't want to start a fire. So we'll stick that in there and let it melt. And then once it gets to 180 degrees, then I'm gonna take this out and we'll put our fragrance oil and dye in. So now we're just gonna have to wait. Alright, so we're at 180 and our wax is all melted. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the oven or the stove off, and we'll put this on the scale, zero it out again, and pour 1 ounce of blueberry fragrance oil in here. So go. Set this back over here. Oh, that smells so good. I love blueberry. And then let's go ahead and stir it really well until it's nice and incorporated into the wax. Okay, so now I'm going to put the dye in, and we need, for 1 pound of wax, I use 2 drops of black. Okay. And 7 drops of blue for the blueberry. And if you're making a solid color blueberry candle, this is the same color I use too. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. There we go. Okay, so now we stir it again really well, and then after we're done stirring, you're going to want to wait until it cools to about 90 to 100 degrees, and then after that we're going to pour it into here, into our pan lined with wax paper. So now we wait again. Okay, so we are down to about 90 degrees, and the wax is getting kind of thick. So let's go ahead and pour it. And then we're going to have to wait again. There's a lot of waiting in candle making. So we'll wait till this cools to just the right temperature. We don't want it to cool completely. We don't want it to harden completely, because we're going to need to be able to cut it into squares. So we want it to cool about to the consistency of butter. Kind of a soft butter, not super soft, but so we'll wait a little while, and I'll keep my eye on it. I would say probably set the timer for 10 minutes and then check on it, and then it might be about ready by then. So it depends on the temperature of your room and everything. So I can't tell you exactly how long it's going to be, but and then we will go ahead and cut it with a nice sharp knife. Not serrated, a nice smooth edged knife. So we wait. Okay, so while I'm waiting for the chunks to cool enough to cut them, you'll notice we still have some wax in the pot. And so if you don't have 2 pour pots, then you're going to need to clean this out before we start the next part of our making our chunk candles, because the next wax that we're going to put in here, we're not going to put any dye in it, and so we'll need to get this cleaned out so we don't have blue wax for our overpour. So I'm going to heat the water up in here, and the way to clean this out is just to stick this in here and go ahead and let the excess wax melt down, and then I'm going to just take some paper towels or napkins I usually use paper towels, but I'm out of those right now. So we're just going to use napkins, and once this is all melted, you can take the napkins or paper towels and just wipe it out really good. So, and then it'll be nice and clean for our next batch of wax that we're going to melt. Okay, so this is ready to cut, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here and let you see how I'm cutting this. And it actually took about 15 minutes for it to cool enough. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom it in here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cut this into squares, and probably about, you can do like 1/2-inch squares. So just do, and just cut them slowly so the wax doesn't come up too much onto the knife. And you can really cut these any size that you want. So it looks like we got the perfect temperature to cut them. They're cutting pretty nicely so far. Okay, so then I'm going to turn this and we'll cut back across. And then once they're done being cut, then we're going to have to wait again. This soy candle making is probably not for the impatient. So we'll wait again, and we're going to need to let these cool completely. Let them harden completely before breaking them apart, because otherwise your squares are going to fall apart if you don't wait till they're completely cooled. Okay, so there's our last one, and there we go. Nice little squares. We'll wait till they're cooled, then we'll break them apart and put them in our jars. Okay, so I think the chunks are almost done and about ready to break apart. So right now, while we're waiting for those to finish up, I'm going to go ahead and get the next batch of wax started, and this is the wax that we're going to pour over the chunks after we put them in the jars. So we're going to go ahead and zero out our scale, and I'm going to do another pound of wax. Now this whole thing, I did a pound of wax for the chunks and a pound of wax for the over pour, so that's a total of 2 pounds. So I'm only going to make 2 candles today, 2 8-ounce candles, but with the 2 pounds of wax that we're using, you could make 4 candles out of that. So I will have enough left over for 2 more candles when we're done. Okay, and then we'll set it in our pot again that has water in it. And I've already got it turned up, so we'll turn it to 4. Stick our thermometer in there and wait till it reaches 180 degrees again and put our fragrance oil in again. Alright, so our chunks are about ready to be broken up and separated. So we're going to lift this out. Wax wax paper out. And we can set this on here. Obviously, make sure your burner isn't on. Or you can take this out and set it on your counter would probably be the better way to do it. But you can see that they're already separating pretty easily. So, and you don't, I just leave them like this until I need to use them to put in my jars. So you don't have to separate all of them right now, but you can see how they're separating really nicely into nice squares. So we are ready to get them set in our jars. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out now and we will start arranging them. Okay, so first of all, we need to put the wicks in the jars, and I already have one wick in this jar. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I put the wick in the other jar. So we take off a wick sticker, stick it onto the bottom of the wick, the base, pull the little blue part off, and then take the jar and carefully try to get it into the center as much as possible, and then push with your fingers nice and firm. And the nice thing about these 8-ounce mason jars is they have some numbers on the bottom. So if you get your wick base right in the middle of those numbers, that is pretty much the center of the jar. So that's really nice. So now I'm going to take these chunks and I'm going to put them in the jar along the edges. And I just do a row on the bottom and then another row on top of that until it gets about to the top. Okay. And the nice thing is that some of these pieces are rounded from the edge around the corners. And so I like to use those kind of in the corner of the jar too. They fit nicely in the corners there. Okay. And you can arrange these any way you want. So that's the fun part about it. Be creative. Okay, so I'm just going to do one more layer. Oops. Just a spot here. There we go. And try to push them up against the sides so that, you know, to make sure that they show through well once you do the over pour. Okay, so there we have one done, and you can see how far I filled it up. I don't fill them clear up to the top because usually with the over pour 8-ounce for an 8-ounce candle, I fill up to about here, so maybe just a little bit above these. But I like to try to keep it to where some of these are poking through a little bit, and then I might sprinkle some. I might break some of these chunks up a little bit and put them on the top after we do the over pour. So now I'm going to go ahead and do this one while we wait for this wax to melt. Okay, so our wax is melted for the over pour. So I'm going to take it out of here again, set it on the scale, turn the stove off, and zero the scale out like we did before. And then put 1 ounce of the white cake fragrance oil in. Okay, and then we'll stir it, and I'm not going to put any dye in this one. We want this to be the lighter color, so we're just going to use the natural color of the soy wax. Stir it really well, and then again we'll need to wait until this gets down to 90 to 100 degrees before we pour it. Okay, so our temperature is about 100 degrees and it looks like it's should be ready to pour. So I'm going to go ahead and do the over pour. Pour up to just to where some of the chunks are kind of sticking through still. So okay, and then we, like I said, we have some left over. Should be enough for 2 more candles since we did 2 pounds of wax all together. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the wick or the chip clips on. That's what I use to keep my wicks centered. And you can buy these at the store. I think I got mine at IKEA. A nice bag of chip clips. And that one does not want to stay. Okay, so there we go. Get them nice and centered, put the chip clips on, and let them cool. Okay, so our soy chunk candles are all done. I've went ahead and taken the chip clip off and trimmed the wick to 1/4 of an inch. And so what you want to do is let these cure for about 24 hours or more before you burn them, so you can get the best scent throw out of them. And so I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you'd like to see more candle making instructions, you can visit me at www.soycandlemakingtime.com, and you can subscribe to my channel if you'd like to be up to date on more videos that I will be making. And go ahead and click like if you like this video, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.